He was an incredibly gentle soul, a real gentle, like a bit of an old soul, and people were drawn to him. He just had this way about him, and there was a certain kind of calm energy about him. He really liked Starbucks. He finally felt he had a career as opposed to a job. He got up to go to work and was leaving at about 20 to 7, and I said, why don't you just stay home? Because you've got, don't go to work with a migraine. And he said, but what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll open up the store, and then when it gets to a reasonable hour, I will call someone else to come in, and then I'll come home. So, okay, fine. And then he said, I'm going now, Poppet. You have a good day. I'll call you later.
The manager of a Starbucks in the West End was stabbed several times and died. And as Tara Nelson reports, the victim was trying to come to the aid of one of his employees.
He went around the counter and moved towards her, producing a large butcher knife, threatening her with the knife. The manager of the Starbucks intervened and was stabbed numerous times. We believe firmly that had he not taken this heroic action, the woman would have been the victim that we would have been dealing with here today.
The intercom went and a voice said, hi, it's the Vancouver Police Department. We need to come up top. And he said, I have some bad news, and I think you better sit down. And it was like, what bad news could there be? And so I sat down, and the policeman said, Tony was opening the store with his colleague this morning, and her husband came into the store, and there was an altercation, and unfortunately Tony was stabbed. And there was this briefest of pauses, and in that pause I finished his sentence in my head with, and he's in St Paul's Hospital in intensive care, but he's going to be okay. That's how I finished his sentence. And then he said, and unfortunately he died. And it was... And I remember one of the first things I said was he was a coffee shop manager. Who would want to kill a coffee shop manager?
Mirashin Fatemi is charged with second-degree murder in the killing of Tony McNaughton. He remains in custody and will appear in court again on March the 27th.
When someone gets up to go to work and doesn't come back, and you have no warning, it would have been one thing if he had been hit by a truck. That would have been horrific enough. But the fact that someone made a choice, someone took an 8-inch butcher's knife into a Starbucks coffee shop with the intent of killing someone, it takes away all your sense of safety. It's becoming apparent now that I still don't feel safe in the world. I still don't, my assumptive reality of what I believed was truth and how the world was changed on that moment. The world wasn't and isn't a safe place. Innocent people, and we know this, we see it in the newspapers every day, that innocent people become victims.
Today, the jury began hearing evidence against the alleged killer, Mirashin Fatemi. Prosecutors say they'll present surveillance video and a letter found in Fatemi's apartment. In the letter, the accused talks about a mission from God. Family and friends of McNaughton say they are relieved the trial has begun.
The hard part is because there was a trial, because the man was arrested, we never found out what happened until the trial. So for, 16 months, you're wondering, how did he die? How long was he laying on that floor, bleeding to death? Was he suffering? You know, what was going through his mind? Had he been stabbed and it was a slow death, or was it sudden? And did he suffer? And you also think, if I could have convinced him to stay home because he had a migraine, he would still be alive. Tony was an ordinary man who did an extraordinary thing. And one of the things we've always said is that, and it's a quote that is on the Starbucks plaque, is that what he did was who he was. In Buddhism we say turn poison into medicine, take something negative and make something positive from it. And that if by this we can raise the issue of domestic violence and violence generally, and do something to counter it, then that's part of Tony's legacy.